Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joe Benson. I am the president and co-founder of Knowledge Marketing, and I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar, The Power of the Unified Audience Database. We have the pleasure to have with us today as a guest speaker, April Deutmeyer, the Director of Data at Scranton Gillette Communications. Thanks for being with us today, April.
Thanks, Joe.
So for those of you that haven't had the opportunity to meet April at the industry events that she's speaking at, let me give you a little background. April is the Director of Data for Scranton Gillette Communications. For those of you not familiar with Scranton, they're a leading business-to-business communications company located in Illinois, and they produce 12 publications ranging from construction, infrastructure, water, healthcare, home furnishings, and music. April is responsible for implementing and developing Scranton Gillette's Horizons consensus database as well as the email deployment tools. That database is 1.5 million net records, and it covers print, webinars, live events, and educational platforms. The overall touch points is 100 million plus. We're very excited to have her speaking about this, and one last housekeeping note before we get started. If you have any questions, you can type them in at any time. We'll answer as many as we can at the end, and you can also live tweet at hashtag #UADPower. With that being said, let's get started.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. Just wanted to share my experience with you guys over the last few years of what I've been able to perform in utilizing the UAD and ECN. So today's agenda, I'm going to go over the audience background, so going over the old way of how we would gain new subscribers, the new way of how we're going to gain subscribers, give you some hard examples with some hard stats, some results, and then 6 tips for success on how to successfully gain new name subscriptions at no cost to you. Next slide. So just a little bit out of audience background. What did we know about our print and digital audience overlap before the UAD? I'm not sure about all of you, but in our scenario, we really did not know anything about the overlap. If somebody came to us and said, hey, I want to know who attended this webinar and is getting our newsletter, it would take us an extremely long amount of time in order to find out that information. Now with the Unified Audience Database, we're able to literally in the click of a button find out where our audiences overlap. Next. So audience background continued. So this is just an example of our audience. So today we have the ability to see our entire audience in one place, whether that be our newsletters, our print publications, webinars, events, educational platforms, surveys. So here, just as an example, blue here is going to be our active print audience, and orange is going to be our daily newsletter audience with an active email. So in this instance, you can see that there is a good majority of our newsletter audience who is not currently on our print subscription list. So our goal is to, instead of spend money on telemarketing, let's see if we can decrease that amount we're spending with them by taking our newsletter audience and feeding them a subscription offer. Next. So the old way of how we would typically gain print subscriptions. So the old way is list rentals. Obviously, we would go out, purchase a list, have telemarketers call on them, and cross our fingers and pray that these individuals would subscribe and qualify. Telemarketing, which again is still a huge part, but it used to be one of the main things that we would always go to first and foremost. Fax efforts. Again, this was a huge, huge part of our subscription efforts, and it's slowed down a little bit, but fax is still needed. Tip covers, as I'm sure you all have tip covers for renewals and new subscriptions. and then reader service cards that would be inserted into the magazine. Next. So the new way is how we start out is taking our newsletter audience who is not receiving a print subscription, and we send them a subscription offer email. In that email to subscribe, we do embed the link so that we know specifically that these people signed up for a print subscription using this method instead of telemarketing or a fax effort. We're also taking our website visits, so finding people who may have clicked on a similar topical term. So safety, finding those people that we really want to get our magazine that are not, and feeding them a subscription offer. Trade shows, any type of show that we may be putting on or that we are partnering with, and we can get those names of people who have registered for the show. We are sending them an offer to sign up for our newsletters and our print magazine. And then, of course, telemarketing is a huge one as well still. Next. So when we first started doing this, it was the end of 2014. And I really did not know what I was getting myself into. I was just kind of playing around and putting things together and sending them out. So this is actually one of the first efforts that I ever did. I'm not very proud of it now today, but as you can see, I have a copy of the print edition cover image up there. And it says, we've noticed that you've currently subscribed to our e-newsletter, however, you're not subscribed to our monthly water quality products magazine. It goes on saying, the Water Quality Products magazine provides editorial content and information to help you do your job more effectively and educate you on the latest technology. And then we have a click here to start your free subscription today. So these click here buttons throughout the presentation do indicate those are the links that are embedded with a special code to know that they came from our subscription offers. So you can see here, the total send I sent this to was 6,800 people. We received a 11% unique open and a 76% unique click. So not all of those 76 clicks 100% converted over to a print subscription. Maybe about 20% of those actually converted on this first effort. But it was exciting for us because this is the first time we were doing this. Next. So how I originally started out performing these new name subscription offers, this is just an idea of how I pulled the audience. Starting off, I pulled our print audience, and then I pulled the weekly newsletter associated with that publication and kind of found, hey, where 2 is not in 1. And then that was literally the list that I sent this to. Next. So in 2015, I decided to start trying a few different methods of sending this out. Here again, you can see it's Professional Builder Magazine. We have the cover image. And I kind of started this out the same as I did in 2014, because again, I'm still semi-new at this point of doing this. So again, we've noticed you've currently subscribed to our e-newsletter. Thank you. However, we do not have you on our list to receive Professional Builders Monthly Magazine, the industry's premier source of business, design, and product news and information. So here, this route, we decided to link articles to let people know what they were missing. So in this effort here, I worked with our editorial staff and our publishers to come up with articles that they found were very popular and important for people to look into, and so we decided to link them in the newsletter. Again, we had the click here to start your free subscription. The total sends on this was 27,000. Unique opens about 12%, and unique clicks was 2%. So this is actually a very successful effort for us, getting a little bit smarter on what we're doing. Next slide. What we decided to do was add a trigger into these emails of people who are clicking on a specific article. So at this point, when we add the trigger, we do not know exactly that somebody actually subscribed at this point. However, we decided to still do a trigger and word it a little differently, so it says don't forget about your free copy of Professional Builder magazine. So if anybody clicked on any of the previous article links in the previous slide, they actually received this email 24 hours later saying thank you for visiting the article, of the article name, and then don't forget you can receive more exclusive content by signing up for our free subscription. This was extremely beneficial for us. We had, out of the people who clicked on the articles themselves, we had a 90% conversion rate of those people actually signing up and subscribing to the magazine. So granted, it wasn't a large amount of people who received the triggers, but those that did, 90% of them signed up. Next slide. So in this instance, we got a little bit smarter on how to select our audience. And in this case, you can see here on the slide, we're pulling our newsletter audience, but we're only selecting specific business classes or job titles in this instance. And we're only wanting to send this to people who have opened something from us within 5 months. So we were getting a little bit smarter, so we're pulling more targeted audiences for these deployments. Next slide. In 2015, we actually started doing PostShow subscription offers as well. So Professional Builder Show Village, the International Builder Show, which was in Vegas at the time, is a huge show that we are at, and we have several houses that are built in the parking lot, and people go around to tour these houses. So in this case, we have people scanning badges of everybody who goes through each home. So in this case, we had an HTML created for us working with our creative services department. And here we took, it says Show Village presented attendees with the opportunity to see products at work in a real environment as you toured the modern home, traditional home, and ultimate kitchen. So it's kind of refreshing people of, hey, even though you came to this show and walked through these houses, you might not know us, but we're the ones that were there, and these are the homes you toured. So we gave them the opportunity to sign up for a print subscription offer and to sign up for our newsletters as well. And then we put in a little tag of hope to see you next year at Show Village. So this was actually sent to 3,600 people. Unique opens, we had 27%, 3% unique click. So just in 3 efforts, which we ultimately could have kept going and done more, we received 160 new qualified print subscribers just from this. And in our minds, we totaled that out to $1,600 in savings because these people are worth more than the standard $5 to $8 we would spend on telemarketing cost for a new name. The reason we think they are more than the $5 to $8 is because they toured a home and actually went to an event. So we know that they are interested in this. Next product. So in 2016, we changed things up a little bit because we weren't really sure exactly what was working, what wasn't working. So we wanted to maybe take some things and not be so wordy and just kind of lay it out there. So here, again, I have a cover image. We have to ask, are you interested in receiving a free subscription to building, design, and construction? Kind of mention the same wording, like we've noticed that you're getting our newsletter but not our print. But here you can see I changed the sign me up button. So it no longer says subscribe, sign me up. This was sent to 2,800 people, received a 33% unique open and a 10% unique click. And in 2016, how we started doing our new name promotions were we started sending these to people who have clicked within 30 days as they're coming on to our print or onto our newsletters. So if you came on today, you're going to be getting an email saying, hey, you're on our newsletter, but you're not getting our print copy. So we got starting to send these to very smaller targeted groups of individuals who have engaged in something with us in the last 30 days. So a big difference from where we were in 2015 and in 2014 as well. And this actually really helped up the conversions just because people were signing up and we were fresh in their mind. Next. This is another example. This is from our Construction Equipment magazine. So this one is very similar to the previous one, saying, love our newsletter. We've noticed you're currently subscribed to our newsletter, but are missing out on additional industry news for our print magazine. Again, the Sign Me Up button. Very, very simple. And honestly, all of these designs, besides a few that I will show you, I created myself. So it wasn't a hard task of trying to get a designer to create something for me. This is all something that can be easily done by yourself. And I will admit, I don't have any HTML background. So this is all very easily done in ECN using the tools that they have. Next slide. So also, this is a new design that we've actually put together, so calling all architects and designers. So this is for our building design and construction publication, and this one we altered just for our architects and designers because we know that our publishers and editorial team, who they want to, their top audience for them is the architects and designers. So we decided to target only those specific people who are getting the newsletter, not the print. And this is a totally different design. We actually, so this is going to be one design that I had our design team actually create for me, just the banner up at the top. And then the content in here for you. Are you interested in working in building design? If so, then you don't want to miss out on the Building Design and Construction magazine. And then we kind of put in there from us, the editors of Building Design and Construction. So this is a totally different twist, something new for us. We're creating new content, getting something different. That way we can analyze what is working and what isn't working for our subscribers. Next. Okay, so content reuse. This is a very successful campaign that we did earlier this year, is taking content that maybe we already have that is older or maybe it never got used, but it's still getting a lot of traffic on the website. So in this case, we're taking older content and we're packaging it into an ebook. So, and then also putting in a subscription offer on that as well. So here you can see we have a really catchy tagline, what do Virginia, Oklahoma, and Texas all have in common? And then each feature major products that demonstrate the integrity and fortitude of modern construction. So this actually is an ebook for people to download and subscribe to the magazine itself. We actually had every question required to fill this out, and we asked more additional questions other than just what you need to have in order to qualify for our magazine. And we had roughly 120 people fill out every single question, and there was 13 questions. So it doesn't sound like a lot of people, 120, but those are people that we have really good information on now. These are people we can go to for other things that we may want to present. You know, maybe there's a survey we need to fill out or a webinar maybe we're putting on. These are good niche audiences that we can send additional information to. So don't be afraid to use older content and repackage it for deals. Next. Okay, so I wanted to share with you guys the results that we've indicated. I didn't put anything for 2014 on here because we started doing these campaigns at the end of 2014 as November, so there wasn't really much to go off of. So in 2015, you can see we were averaging about a 12% unique open rate and a 1% unique click rate. In 2016, we've literally doubled our unique open percentage to nearly 25%, and we're sitting at a 5% unique click rate. I mean, so there's a lot of different factors that go into this, which I'll get into here shortly. But it's amazing how just segmenting your audience and really understanding them can change from one year to the next. Next. So in 2015 and 2016, so hard stats, in 2015, we qualified 1,066 individuals to a print subscription. And in 2016, we converted 2,900 people to print subscriptions. So when we kind of think about that, okay, 1,066 or 2,900 may not seem like too much, but when you talk about the savings, we're calling this at $5, which is actually probably a little bit on the lower end. We're saving $19,865. All of that, which we probably would have spent in telemarketing costs. So it doesn't seem like a large amount maybe per se number-wise, but the savings is totally worth it. Next. So in honor of the Cubs winning the World Series, I felt that it was necessary to add this in here because we are a suburb of Chicago. So our goal for 2017 is to gain 10,800 qualified subscribers, new names, simply just from the email new name promotions that we send out. That's our goal. If the Cubs can do it, I think we can do it. So if I make it that far, I'll definitely keep you guys posted. Next. So what's the best way to make this all work? I'm going to go over 6 tips for success with you guys. Next. So the first tip is going to be define how you will segment your audience. So group individuals who share the same demos, so the same job titles, the same business classes, purchasing authority, whatever type of demos that you're gaining from your print subscribers. Group individuals who share the same interest. So this could be anything from additional demographics that you add that are not maybe per se like required when somebody signs up, but maybe you have like a sales volume or employee size, anything like that that may be a little bit of an additional kick that you could add in there. Group individuals who share the same activities, so anybody who's going to the same type of article. So do you have any individuals who are all going to safety topics, anything like that that you can really just group your individuals and segment them and send them new name promotions specific to them. Next. Understanding your audience. So how do they engage with your content? Do they like to get a sneak peek from an article before they actually subscribe? Do they just like to simply subscribe? Really kind of alter that and test it out. Do they want an ebook first? That's something obviously that you won't know right away until you start testing all of these different ways that you can provide content to your subscribers. Map out their journey. So this is really going to come from the reporting that you'll do after you send out all of these new name promotions. Really kind of examine what they're doing. So let's say you send out a promotion and you're going to analyze the reports of, okay, these are the top people, top business classes or job titles who are actually clicking to subscribe. And then what are they doing from there? What are these architects or what are these designers truly doing after that? Like what type of articles are they reading from there? Research and determine your audience personas. So find a cluster of readers who exhibit similar behavior patterns in their method of content intake, the technology. So are they, opening your emails primarily on mobile? Is it Windows? What is it? Really examine that. Research if they've had repeated attendance at a specific event, or they're continually going to all of your webinars. So really kind of find them and who they are. Sometimes we tend to treat everybody kind of the same, like all of our architects the same, or all of our contractors the same, when in fact they could be looking for two totally different things. So it's really important to take the time and examine how your audience is moving across your website. Next. Develop and test a content strategy. So how will you produce quality content? And by this I mean, is this just something you create in ECN by yourself? Or is this something that you will have to have a designer create for you? And plan to reuse content, or plan to link content that you already have in a subscription offer. That way people can get a sneak peek of what you are actually producing. Next. Define how you measure success. So how will you determine the effectiveness of your new name promotions? So are you going to, the reason I say this is because we've kind of also used this as a tie-in to email re-engagement. So if we have newsletter audience who we're sending a print subscription offer to, can we send this to them just to get them to open it, to make sure that they're still there? So kind of determine if you're just simply doing this for a new name subscription, or if you're going to be adding in additional items like email re-engagement, or trying to get people to click on an article to gain traffic to your website. So review analytics and define metrics. Next. Most important, adopt a data-driven mindset. You really need to develop a deeper understanding of your audience. Reviewing analytics will help with this, but you really need to be interested in this and really have the drive to dig deeper into your data. You need to make decisions that are informed by data and truly enjoy it. Like I said, all the data, it's gold. Whatever you find, if you take the time, you'll really enjoy doing what you're doing. I was recently asked at an event I was at, what is the one thing you need to change in order for your career to be successful in marketing, whether that be like content marketing, behavioral marketing, any of these types of platforms that we're sending out. And so I was thinking about it, and they kept on saying, what is one thing you, not your company, just you personally? And my instant thought was patience, because all of this data, we have so much data in the Unified Audience Database that sometimes it's very overwhelming, and we don't know where to start. We don't know what to do with it. But if you just have patience and actually work through it, I guarantee you, you will find success in doing this. Like I said, it's gold. It's really beneficial. So just keep trucking along, because I know it's a long journey. It doesn't happen overnight. Next. So the last tip is going to be prepared to experiment. Good optimization is about testing and determining what performs best. Test, measure, optimize, repeat. So I mean, literally test everything. Test your subject lines, test the content, test the time that you send your email promotions, test follow-ups with the triggers. You know, should you send it an hour after somebody subscribes, or should you send it 24 hours later, a week later? really testing and making sure that you're actually analyzing your reports. So ECN has great reporting tools that all of you have access to, and it has worked wonders for us. So really analyzing all of the reporting that you're doing on every single piece of promotion. Next.
I think we're ready for some questions. April, that was it was extremely interesting to see the success and the growth, obviously, that you had over that time period, and just the learning curve of you understanding your data. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, April has the luxury of working with 100 million plus touch points, and I can understand how it can be overwhelming. And it looks like, some of the questions that have come in, well, the first thing is a lot of people have said, congrats to you and your Cubs. So congrats for sticking with him. If anyone has patience, it's a Cubs fan.
Right.
But one of the first questions I thought would be interesting for us to answer was around, the successful campaigns, this year. And, what was your most successful campaign in 2016 and why? Why was it successful?
Mm-hmm. Sure, great question. So one of our most successful campaigns is obviously our post-show subscription offers. They're huge just because we've actually interacted with those people at some level, whether they're coming by our booth, they're walking through a house tour. Those have been extremely, extremely successful. So I highly recommend if anybody currently is not doing that to test that out because it was huge for us. We've also had we have a publication, Residential Lighting, and we've had a really successful campaign with, at first, when we started doing promotions for them, it was really tough to get those people to convert, and we couldn't really figure out why. And then it kind of hit me, well, residential lighting, like we're targeting interior designers, lighting designers, so we're really kind of targeting those artsy types of people. So I worked with our creative services department, and I had them create something very fancy and flashy for those people. And what do you know? It was a complete success. So I think knowing your audience and what they want, like who they are, like it seems so simple now that I think back on it. I should have known that interior designers and lighting designers are artsy and they like the fun stuff, but it never hit me. So.
Sure, those are great examples. Another interesting question that came in was around best performing email subject lines, and I think subject lines in general have been a topic in the past with people that use the email segment of our platform, and a lot of times people ask us, what are the best things that people should put in? For us as an industry provider that covers many industries, it's hard to pick one particular subject line, format, text, etc. We can usually tell them things to avoid, the spammy words as they were. But what are some of the best performing email subject lines that you found at Scranton?
Yeah, definitely. So a couple of the best performing ones for us, actually, so number one was an offer too good to pass up. So a lot of these I was kind of surprised by, but then at the same time I wasn't. We kind of found that a lot of our best performing subject lines really didn't say anything about a subscription or even maybe the magazine. Another great one that we had success with was Love Our Newsletter. That was a huge hit for us. And then we did have a good success with saying like a special subscription invitation from XYZ magazine. So we try to stay away from like a subscription, subscribe to our magazine, because what we found was that mentioning free or complimentary or even just the word subscribe in the subject line, those didn't perform well. People weren't opening them. However, if we said subscription, it would be okay.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think people want to be part of a community today, and I think you're probably showing that with that content and with those subject lines. They want to feel, there's some type of affinity there, and that's interesting. It kind of reinforces what we've been seeing as well.
Right.
Another question that came in, thinking back to, again, I think that you really showed the growth of the percentage from, net clicks from, I think it was down at 1% at one time when you were first learning how to utilize the platform and your database up to, 3% plus or 5% even. When you think back to, 2016, a question came back again, I think it was around what are the top 3 things you learned, in this past year, because obviously what's that top of mind now? And what would you be doing, the question was around what would you be doing to incorporate that into your budget or your planning for 2017?
Yeah. So in 2016 it was a huge learning curve, even in 2015. Targeting the audience is huge. That'd be really segmenting your audience and not just doing what they say or who they say they are. And by that I mean, their business class or their job title, their purchasing authority, but really look at what they're actually reading. What are they doing on your website? Like, do they like your newsletters best? Do they like your blog alerts best? Do they like a white paper? So targeting your audience, understanding your audience, again, like what they like best, what kind of platforms are they getting information from you, and testing was a huge one. I can't even tell you how many testing deployments I sent out. So that was huge, whether that be testing the time of day, the content. We did a lot of A/B testing on subject lines, and I will tell you that I've had one time that I, in my head, said, that's going to be the subject line that wins. Only one time I was right. Every other time I was wrong. So everything that I originally thought that was going to work never did. So 2016 was a huge learning curve of just about knowing your audience and testing. In 2017, our plan is to do more personalization. We currently don't do too much of it. We will here and there, maybe with a first name, but we would like to test out more personalizing the emails that we're sending out. We have not tried anything with emojis in the subject line yet, so I'm anxious to try that out. That'll be a big one for us. And then I would also like to maybe try out some dynamic content when sending out these new name promotions, or maybe sending a follow-up thank you, because we currently do not do that. So a few different options that we have for 2017.
Yeah, those are it'll be exciting to see, at the end of next year how it all worked out. I did have someone ask a question of what is UAD. UAD is just an acronym for our Unified Audience Database, just to make sure everyone's clear. Interestingly enough, April, we have had a couple additional questions just come in around what do you do with the people that never open, and one around bounced emails. And the bounced emails question, I believe, came from an Indians fan, so you can help them out since you've caused them enough pain this year.
Okay, so for the bounced emails, we do examine them. We monitor them pretty closely. We do keep resending, because a lot of our bounces, if they're soft bounces. So we'll examine those and we'll monitor. If they're continuously soft bouncing, we will take them off. And for the question in regards to people who have never opened an email, so we actually are constantly doing email re-engagement campaigns on top of these new name promotions. So, excuse me, I will every 6 months, sometimes sooner than that, I will examine our newsletter audience for a specific brand and say, hey, we have, let's just say, 50,000 people on this newsletter and 20,000 of them have not opened anything from us in 6+ months. So in that case, we work with the editorial team and our publishers on this is what we have. We'll put together new, email re-engagement promotions, and we have a couple different templates for that. And we say, for instance, we might say, hey, we noticed, that you haven't opened anything from us. If you still want email from us, please click here. And we do have a call to action that they need to click here in order to stay on our newsletter audience. And then we might not take all of those 20,000 off at once just because we don't want our numbers to go completely down all at one time. But we'll work with the publisher on what he thinks and say maybe let's take off 5,000 names one month, and then the next month we'll take off another 5,000 names. So we do actually take emails off of our newsletters that are not engaging. And it's not that we completely delete them either. We keep them in a little pool of, all right, well, let's go back to these people in 6 months and see if we can get anything from them then.
Sure. The one thing I found really interesting as well was the targeting that you did. It always has felt like the industry always wanted to say bigger was better, and I'd like to see clients embrace the targeted smaller is smarter and maybe more engaged and offer higher value, because you're definitely right. Those records that you mentioned earlier that were highly targeted, highly engaged, are worth more than the average name out on the database. And I think it was great to watch, how you guys processed those through and not only selected the data, but also took it to market and created a higher valuation within your business for that as well. Is that something you've seen internally that people are embracing? Because I know traditionally media has been, I need to have the largest database always, and maybe that's not the case going forward.
Right. We've actually, I would say just over the last few months, I've really noticed, obviously I'm not a sales rep. I'm not a publisher or an editorial director, so I don't interact with the clients as much. But over the last few months when I've been going to more, trade shows and things, meeting with clients, I've been hearing much more of, oh no, we want more targeted. We don't want any of that other stuff that's on your list. We just want specific, specific, specific. So it was really, really refreshing. I never thought I would hear that, I think, so soon. I thought maybe like in a year or two, people will start coming around. But just over the last few months, I've been hearing a lot of it, and it's very refreshing to hear.
Yeah, I think for us as well, it's nice to see where the industry is headed, and everyone, really, evaluating their business and their data differently based on that level of engagement that you're getting. I think that's all the time we had for questions today. I do want to thank everyone again for joining us. Again, we'll be sending out an email following the event with the recorded version. If you do have any additional questions, you can always please, contact us via Twitter at #UADPower or email at info@teamcam.com, or you can always connect with us via phone at 866-844-6275. And again, I want to thank April and wish everyone a great day. Thank you.